Hi and welcome to the WinCC Guru channel. Today I'm going to show you how to create this great runtime menu system for your WinCC SCADA project. We are going to be using the menus and toolbars editor, and we'll create a runtime menu that allows users to quickly navigate between screens, as well as launch other applications like the Windows calculator. We'll add a login button, a stop runtime, also show you some tips and tricks like how to reload the menu so you can dynamically test your changes in runtime without having to restart it. Even if you've used this editor before, I promise you're gonna learn a few new tricks if you watch this video till the end. So let's get started. So first, let's review the current navigation that we have in the Runtime project. And if you did the WinCC step-by-step course, either the 7.4 or 8.0 version, this is the project that we created. So if you want to go through some basics of WinCC, I highly recommend that you go find those playlists. And what we did is we created a picture window on a main screen. Then we've got kind of a bottom area where we show alarms, we show what page we're on, we've got a login. And then across the top, these are navigation buttons, and we're just using a direct connect to affect what picture this picture window object shows here. But the buttons take up a lot of room, and we have to kind of have a smaller work area picture because of this. So what we want to do is build a Windows-like menu system that will attach to the base screen here. That'll give us a little bit more room on our main screen and allow us a lot more room to add pages. So if we go back to Control Center and look at the pages that we have, I've got some other screens that I'm not showing. I got a connectivity pack script example that's going to be in an upcoming video. I've got a threading demo, I've got a REST API weather screen, and a few others here that I would like to add. Some other things that I would like to be able to do is have a button to pop up, say, the Windows calculator, pull up the APDiag diagnostic utility, which we use a lot in my videos to debug scripts, and also move our login button also to the menu. So that's what we're going to build next. Let's open Control Center and we will get started. In Control Center, we're going to open the Menus and Toolbar editor. And this editor has been around for a while. So if you're an earlier version of WinCC, you should be able to do what we're doing. You can make a menu system and you can also make a toolbar. So this is an example of a menu system where you have just lists of things and you can have different branches. So you can see I've got different levels here. And a toolbar is really kind of the same thing, but it uses icons instead of words. We're going to create a menu. First, what we want to do is just have a process screens menu that shows these different things, and then we'll have maybe an advanced that shows some of the other screens that we have, and then later I'll show you how to have, say, a maintenance set of buttons that will open up calculator and log on and things like that. So under menus, we're just going to create a new menu item, and this is going to be the top level, and I'm just going to call this process screens. Move this out so you can see it. And so this is going to be a top level menu, just kind of like file or edit. And then I'm going to right click and do new menu item here. I'm just going to put overview. One of the things that's important is if you look at the properties here, when I create these, it's got a name and then the text just is a default menu item. So what is shown in runtime is going to be whatever is in this text, and whatever you name it is going to be what is shown in here. And that's not really helpful. People don't know that, and they just assume what they see is what they get when they build this. But what I just tend to do is just anything that I name the object, then I'll just go through and copy this into the text so that we can see that. So I'll do the same thing with overview. Okay. And then in our runtime, the next thing was detail, and then I'll do alarms, trends, and admin. So we'll just continue adding this. We'll do detail. I'll just copy this and alarms. I'll just go ahead and add all of these here. Trends, and we'll do admin. And then for each of these, I'll just go ahead and fill in the name and admin. And let's just go ahead and save. So I'm just going to do main menu items. And the next thing that we need to do is actually make these buttons work. And so let's just take a look here at the properties. We've got, is it active, is it visible, and then is it a separator? And a separator basically just means it's a line. So if you have a long menu and it's got different areas, you might want to use the line. Authorization allows you to put security. So if you don't want a random operator shutting down the project, then we could put authorization on certain buttons like stop runtime or whatever. And then we have user data, script, and picture. And picture, you might think, would be the screen we want to show, like overview or detail, but it's not. It allows you to show a small icon, so we'll use a couple of these. The user data is where you specify what screen or what action you want to take, and then the script is what handles that action. So we have to write a Visual Basic script handler to handle the clicks on this menu. So we're going to go back to Control Center, and we're going to open the Visual Basic script editor. And under project modules, we're going to create a new project module here. And what we want to do is write a script handler to handle our menu. So we're going to call this menu navigation. And we have to give it an argument, and we can call it anything that we want. We're going to send it in by value, and we're just going to refer to it as item. Or if we wanted to be more exact, we could do menu item. This is how the toolbar is going to pass in this information. And so let's go take a look at what we have to do. Going back to the menu, the user data is what is going to be passed in. And it's actually an object. And the way that we reference that in the script is going to be by our passed in variable menu item, and then it's going to be .user data. And if we look in Graphics Designer, we don't want to just change the base screen. We actually want to affect what picture this picture window is showing. It's on main PDL and we have these buttons. So let's just go ahead and make a copy of this and just call it main screen with menu. That way we don't get rid of our original one. And we can get rid of all these buttons here. And we could actually make this a little bigger if we wanted to. So I'm just going to save this. And what our script needs to do is access whatever our base screen is, which is your default screen in Runtime. It's going to be main screen with menu. And it's going to need to access this picture window object. And the name of this object is pick main window. And so going back to Visual Basic, what we want to do is first we're going to create a variable called myScreen, and then myScreen is going to equal menu item dot user data. And this is how you access the data that is coming from this user data field. So it's actually an object. And then the next thing that we want to do is we want to go to the HMI runtime.screens collection. This is a collection of all the screens. We could just hard code the name of whatever screen we think we want, but if we were to ever switch back over to the other one, then that screen would not be loaded. And so what we want to do is just go ahead and go to the base screen. And the way that we do that is we can just do base screen name. And if you wonder where that came from, it's part of HMI runtime. And then if we put the dot there, you get the base screen name. Since we're already in this, then I can just put base screen name. And then we're going to go to the screen items. This is all the items on the screen. And we want to go find our picture window, right? And that is going to be this picture window, and its name is pick main window. So I'm just going to copy that so that we know where we're going. And I'm just going to paste it in there. You have to use double quotes because this is a string. And then we have to access the property of this picture window that is in charge of showing screens. And the name of that property is going to be picture name. And if you're not sure, we can hit F1 on this. And it always tells you how you make it dynamic. It says a picture name attribute can be made dynamic, i.e. accessed during a script, just by using picture name. So we can just copy that and paste that in there. And then we'll just say equals my screen. So the way this works is we're sending in the menu information from the menu click, no matter what we click. We're extracting the user data that comes from this user data field, and we're putting it into my screen. And then we're saying, okay, go to whatever the base screen is. That's your default screen as you go to runtime. Find this pick main window and then put in my screen into the picture name property. That is going to cause the picture to change. So we're going to hit save here, and we're going to call this menu navigation. And then we'll go back to our menu, and then for overview, our user data is just going to be overview. We don't have to put PDL. If we go back to Control Center, you can see we do have our overview PDL. So you're just going to put this, and then the script, I can just start typing and we'll find menu navigation. And I'm not going to put icon in here. I don't really have a good icon for this, but basically this is going to send overview into the user data. The script is going to grab overview and it's going to set it to this picture name, and that's going to cause it to run. That's basically all we're doing. So we'll go ahead and do detail. And then of course our script is going to be menu navigation. Same thing with alarms. Menu navigation. Trends, menu, and then finally admin. Now, important, we need to save this. Not all editors require you to save. So we've just gotten one menu system, and it's just going to show our base screen. So let's go test this out. What I need to do is go back to Control Center. Since I'm already in runtime and I'm dealing with the base screen, then we're going to need to shut down runtime. So I'm going to do that. And then we're going to go to our runtime properties of our server. See how this is our start picture. Now we want to kind of change that to main screen with menu. And then our start configuration, menu and toolbars. Then we're going to do our main menu items, MTL, menus, toolbars. And so that is going to be the toolbar for your base screen. Now later, I'm going to show you how you can do smaller toolbars that attach to picture window objects, and we could use that. But for now, this is good. I'll click OK. And then all I have to do is activate runtime. So now we're in runtime. Let me just go ahead and log in. You can see our top level process screens. We're already on the overview screen, so we'll choose detail. Detail will be sent to our script. It'll extract the user data, push it into our picture name, and we will be showing the detail screen. And notice how I've got a lot more real estate to work with here. I'll try my trends. There's my trends. I don't have my simulator running. Here's my admin screen, and we can go back to overview. So pretty quick and easy up to this point. Now let's go back to our menus and toolbars editor, and we can add another menu item, and let's just call these advanced. And then under advanced, I want to show some of these other screens that I have as a demo. So I'll just highlight graphics designer and turn on the big icons. So I want to do my 3D overview. I also want to do my compact script example and maybe my threading demo. So I'm just going to add a couple of menu items here. And this menu item, we're going to call this 3D control. And then for the user data, it's got to be the name. I think it's 3D control. I'll change this 3D overview, and I'll just copy that. And I don't think the screen names are actually case sensitive. Here, this is just going to be straight menu navigation. And then for our menu item 2, this is going to be our compact demo. And I'll just copy that. And then user data, I'll just go do a quick check. That is compact script example. Menu navigation. And then finally, we had our threading demo. And you can also just click on this once and it'll let you copy the name. I just learned that. So we'll do our threading demo here. So this will be threading. And then for our user data, I'm just going to paste in the name of that. And then the script, of course, is going to be menu navigation. And we're going to save. Now, here's kind of an important tip, and this is very useful. I have saved this. If I go back, we don't see the new menu. So maybe you're thinking, if you've been working with WinCC, we could just go to our main menu and refresh runtime and save that. and that the menu would update, and it does not update. If you're using a toolbar with the base screen, you can never update this. You actually have to stop runtime and restart it. Now, if it is a toolbar associated with a picture window, you can just unload the picture window and reload it. So how do we make it so that we can interactively update the menu as we're testing? Well, I'm going to show you. We do have to come out of runtime this once though, so I'll drop runtime here. And we're going to go back to our VBScript, and I'm going to add another sub here. And I'm just going to put a comment here, allows update of menu system on base screen without restarting runtime. And you're going to find this is really useful. And so basically what this does is we're going to send in the name of the file that has the menu, and we're going to just set the menu to nothing, which unloads the menu, and then we're going to set it to the menu that we want to show. So I could actually load a different menu, or I could reload the same one. But the effect here is that it will allow us to update the menu that we're working on. And we'll go back over to menus and toolbars. I'm just going to go ahead and add a third one, and we're just going to call this tools, and then I'll add a new menu item, and it's going to be called reload menu, and we'll do reload menu here. And then the user data is going to be the name of our menu. So if I go to menus and toolbars, it's this main menu items that we want, so I'll just have to spell that out. It won't let me copy it. It's going to be main menu items, and then the script is going to be refresh menu toolbar config file. And that's all we have to do. We got to make sure that we save it, and then we'll just go back to Control Center and hit runtime. So now you see that we have two menu items, and look, I forgot to update the name so that you can see what I was telling you is true. You got to do the name. So this gives us something to actually go test this reload menu out. First, let's just see if this works. Yep, that worked. Let load. Here's my compact demo, and here's my threading demo. So let's go back to our menus and toolbars, and under advanced, see, I forgot to put advanced here. So we'll call this advanced screens. And then for our 3D demo, we did get our 3D overview. And then for our tools, I'll just put tools here. Got to make sure you save. And then if we just go back to runtime and do this reload menu, now you see that we have updated this menu. And again, this is really helpful if you don't have to stop and restart runtime every time you make a change and you want to see it. Now that we've added these, there's a few other things that we want to add. First, I'd like to be able to pull up the Windows calculator. I'd like to be able to pull up APDiag and do a few other things. So let's take a look at how to do that. So we're going to go back to our menus and toolbars editor. Under tools, let's just go add the items that we want. I'll just put calculator here. I will put APDiag here, which is our debug utility. And let's put in a login here. So first, under calculator, what we need to do is write a VB script that we can call and just send it the name of a local app like calculator or Notepad, and it will launch it. So we're going to go back to our Visual Basic script here, and let me just add some stuff here. I always like to just kind of do this. I'm also correct this little spelling error I had, and I'm just going to paste in this function. I'm just going to copy this guy right here. Just kind of easier when you're looking at the code. I'll just put a comment here, opens local Windows app. Now, these Windows apps will not work if you're over Web Navigator. And yes, menus do work in Web Navigator. They do not work in Web UX. And so basically what this function is, it's just called open local Windows app. And you just give it the name of an application. And we're going to go ahead and give it the full path. And so item.userdata is going to be the name and path. So notepad.exe, calc.exe. And it's going to use WScript shell. So in order to use this, we're going to go back here and we're going to go to our calculator. And for our user data, I'm just going to use this as a moniker for our Windows directory, and then system32, and then calc.exe is our calculator. And our script, and you got to make sure you save it. I had to go back and save it real quick. But we're going to put the name of our script, open local Windows app. And I got an icon for this. I just want to show you what that looks like. It's just a ping file. You can do bitmaps, pings, JPEGs. Can't do SVGs. And this will just be a little icon next to this. And then I'll just hit save. Then we'll go back to runtime. First, we got to reload our menu. So now everything is reloaded. I hit calculator, and here's my Windows calculators. And then I can do whatever calculations I want. Now, let's do APDiag. And if you're not familiar, APDiag is this application. It allows you to debug scripts by being able to print out to a window. So this is a really useful utility. And this application lives in Program Files x86, and it is in the Siemens directory, WinCC, under User Tools, UTools, and it's APDiag. So we're going to copy this. We'll go back to our menu, and I'm going to show you something here. So our user data is going to be this path, and it's going to be apdiag.exe. And then we're going to try to call this Open Local Windows app. So let's see what happens. I'll save this. We'll go to runtime. I have to update my menu. And then when I do this, and this is actually a debug window here, it's some error that occurred. This is exactly the thing that APDiag is good at. Let's do that again. And it's throwing an error. The error is I'm trying to launch an application from a protected folder, i.e. program files. And it's a security area. You have to do this with admin privileges. So we have to write a script that will give us admin privileges in what we're doing. So I have written a small function for you, and we'll go back to Visual Basic. And I'm just going to paste this code in here. I'm going to make this code available to you guys. I'm going to paste that in there. And I'm just going to put with admin privileges. And so basically it just uses shell execute and run as the logged on user. And if you're an administrator, then it will work. So we will save that, go back to our menu, and instead of this, it's going to be run as admin. Again, we'll save, go to runtime, we'll have to update our menu, and we'll do APDiag. It's going to ask me, you may not be seeing this, the screen recorder may not catch it, but it's, do you want to allow this app to make changes? And for some reason it comes up full screen, but that's okay. And we can now have our debug window open if we want to here. And so finally, let's do the log on. And we'll also do a start runtime. So there's a very simple script that we can use for our login. I'll go back here. We do already have a login here. So in Visual Basic Script, I'm just going to go paste this function in here. I'll copy our little subroutine divider. I'll just put allows user to log on. Now, again, this won't work over Web Navigator because you log in through the browser. I think maybe if you're using RT Viewer, but it won't use this. So all it does is it calls the show log on dialog through HMI runtime. We still have to send it something. This is another important thing. You may think that we could just create this because we're not actually asking anything from the user, but this will fail. The function does have to take a parameter whether you use it or not. So that's all we need to do. We'll go back to our toolbar, our user data. I can just put anything that I want. It's not going to be used. And then I'll just do login, which is our script. Put a little factory bitmap there. And also I've got kind of a cool one for our APDiag. I got a little bug thing there that we can do. So we'll do file save. And then we'll go back to runtime. We'll reload the menu. So there's our cool icons. And so I'll do login, and it's just going to show our system login, and we can log in here if we want. So one last one that I'll show you is we're going to allow users to stop runtime if they have access. So we'll go back to our Visual Basic Script here, and I'll just put a little divider in here. I'm just going to paste this. So it's called Stop RT. Again, we're not really using this, but you have to add this. And I'm doing a message box, and I'll just say, are you sure you want to shut down runtime? And then here, we'll just call this WinCC Runtime Manager. And this is a message box. You want to use these very sparingly in script because they stop a thread, but this is kind of acceptable. So this is going to show a message box. Are you sure you want to shut down runtime? It's going to give you yes, no buttons. And then we can also do the VB question icon. Notice how that turned bold. This is a defined constant. And then the header is going to say WinCC Runtime Manager. And then if you choose the yes button, it will stop runtime. So we're going to hit save there. We'll go back to our menu. and I'm just going to do menu item, and I'm just going to make this a divider just so you can see what the separator is. And then I'll add another menu item. I'll just put stop runtime. And then under our user data, we don't really use this, so it doesn't matter what I put here. And I'll do stop runtime. For our authorizations, we do want to add an authorization, and let's just put maybe process controlling. And then for our picture, do we have a picture for this? I'll just put the factory, so I'm just going to hit save. Now let's go over to user administrator, and engineer has everything, and operator, let's just take away process controlling. So operator cannot do that function, and I don't have to save or anything. This may require me to reset runtime. I don't know. We'll find out. So we'll go back to our menus and toolbars, and it's using process controlling. I'll hit save. I'm going to go ahead and just refresh this, and we'll refresh our menu. And then right now we're engineer. And so let's log in first as operator and see. And notice how stop runtime is disabled, so they can't use it. So now I'm just going to log in as engineer. And now we're logged in as engineer. And it's going to give me my message box. Here's my question icon. Are you sure you want to shut down? If I say yes, then it will shut down. So I've got a couple other tips and tricks I want to show you. And one is how we change the font size and color of our menu, and also how we show special characters. So we'll do the special characters first. Let's say for this menu item, I wanted it to say tools and utilities. So if I put an ampersand in there, and we'll just save that. Go back to runtime, reload. Notice that the ampersand does not show, and that's because it's a kind of a control character that's used, and it's a simple fix. All you have to do is just put a double ampersand there, then we can save that. And we'll reload the menu, and there's tools and utilities. If we go back to Control Center, if you want to change the font size, they kind of hide it from you. What you want to do is right click and do font settings on menus and toolbars. And you have to go down and find the language that you're using in runtime. And you can see I've already set this to 20, but I could change this to something else. Let's just make it noticeably bigger. Now, if I click OK here, it doesn't automatically show it. And I think even if I reload, it doesn't get bigger. So that particular change, we're going to have to stop runtime and restart it. And since we have to do that, I'll go ahead and show you how to change the color. So once runtime comes down, we can go into properties of the project. And if you go to user interface and design, right now we're using the active design WinCC 3D, which you cannot edit. All of these basic designs cannot be edited, but I can just add a new one and it'll base it on whichever one you're in. And then what we're going to do is go down in the effects and go to menus and toolbars, and let's say that I wanted to do some kind of Pantene blue or some type of blue here. I'll just click OK, and then for the text color, of course, we can change it. I'm going to leave it white. I'll hit apply and OK. So I am going to go to runtime, and you can see our menu is much bigger now, and it does have the bigger font. When you set your font and your color, it's going to take effect for every menu that you use in your project. Now, one other thing I'll show you here is you can go back into user interface and design and change this color, and it will take effect immediately. So once I hit apply, it will change the color on your menu. And one last thing, for the picture window objects you use, like here I'm using a pop-up, you can also assign toolbars to any pop-up window. You just have to go first, of course, create that menu system in the menus and toolbars editor. And then on the picture window, there is a menu and toolbar configuration that you could just assign, and it will just work. Okay, that's all I've got for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you learned something, how about giving me a like, share these videos with your comments. And if you want to support me, please consider becoming a subscriber to the WinCC Guru channel. I also have a full WinCC step-by-step series for both version 7.4 and 8.0 that are free on this channel. Also check out Udemy and search for WinCC Guru for my WinCC database programming class. So I hope to see you soon.